Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collected podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, and welcome to TFYLP, episode 338. Today is I am brought live with Mr. Jim over here.
Hello.
To my right, and Peter.
Forever Destron.
This is Lucas, and then we are also joined on via audio by Paul.
Hidely ho, everybody.
Hey, Paul. So Paul was nice enough to join us. He is actually at SDCC right now, but we're, I guess, not at SDCC, but he's in San Diego, and I guess you are waiting to get on your plane here in a couple hours. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm in the lobby of the hotel. It's the Embassy Suites, and it's about a 10-minute walk to the convention center, which is great because some of the hotels are really far away. And I've been here since Wednesday. I've been here helping Sabertron.com do some reporting and make videos and take pictures of all the cool stuff that's revealed. So thanks to Sabertron for getting me out here for my first San Diego Comic-Con.
That's great. Yeah, I've always really enjoyed the coverage that Sabertron has done, with SDCC and Toy Fair and all that. So it's nice that you're able to, kind of be associated with them. Yeah,
it's a lot more work than it maybe looks like, if you're back home. Because I remember, like during BotCons I wasn't at, and there were panels and stuff, I'd be like furiously refreshing the websites, like, where's the news? Well, it's you have to put it, you have to make it, you take the photos and you got to do something with them. It's a lot of work. A lot of thankless. So what?
Send news.
Yeah.
Well, and I figure too that you have to pray to the Wi-Fi gods, or the the cell phone gods or whatever, that whatever you're trying to put up live, it actually goes through.
Yeah, and I still don't know what the best thing to do is. I kind of feel like live tweeting is pretty good, but then it's like someone has to make a digest of all the tweets or something. And so there's no perfect way to do it. Maybe just videotaping the whole thing, but sometimes they don't let you do that. But
right. Yeah, and sometimes that live video cuts out in the middle, and it's like you never really know.
Yeah, you never really know. So that's why it's good for a second person to be there. So then either one of you can take photos or take notes while the other one takes video or does a live video. And so you kind of like tackle two things at once, and hopefully one of them is perfect. But we're not here to talk about the trials and tribulations of news coverage. We're going to talk about the cool stuff.
See, I don't know. Like that's the type of thing I always get off on those tangents because I always am interested in how the sausage is made on some of that stuff. So I always, I don't know. It's interesting because it is in consumer. I mean, I'm the one seeing all the live tweeting and the people, showing up. And, of course, I went to TFCon and I did, some pictures and whatever for that from TFCon. But yeah, I made the decision when I was doing that not to do video, just because I was like, it's hard enough with doing all the pictures and worrying about the Wi-Fi to worry about, video as well. So
it's the polish that is the most work. It's after you've done the stuff. If you just, like, you could just take your video and it's raw, post that up online, but maybe you got to put a watermark on it, or you mix it with all your other videos of the same toys to make it a better piece of content. It's just you can never do it good enough. So
yeah,
you hope you did it slightly good.
So, but yeah, the actual main topic today actually is we're going to talk about Unicron and that recent crowdfund that the Hasbro is doing, and bringing chaos to your wallet. And then after that too, we'll talk about some of the SDCC exclusives and all that, because of course that kind of brought chaos as well to a lot of our wallets. So. So I guess
how many?
Oh, sorry, go on.
How many people do you think just paid for a Unicron with pre-orders, with all the other stuff?
Well, yeah, personally, so the Unicron, in case people don't know, Hasbro, I guess I can't remember, was it like 5 days ago? Announced something like that. Announced that they are crowdfunding a Unicron through their Haslab program. So this is a program that they did the sail barge for Star Wars before, whereas items that are too big, too pricey to make it to general mass retail, that they're doing, somewhat of a Kickstarter type of thing called Haslab. So they successfully did the barge. Was the first thing they did, and they asked for 5,000 backers at $500, and they were able to meet that goal. I think they ended up having 8,000 backers total, and so then I think that was delivered like 5 months ago, something like that.
February-ish, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So now they are doing their second project. They actually have a second and third. So right now they have a Cookie Monster going on as well that they announced a few days beforehand. And it was kind of funny because it went up and people were freaking out because they're like, wait, why are they doing Cookie Monster? Like, why aren't they doing Unicron? And then like literally, a week later or something like that, they posted Unicron. So with this particular piece, it is a 45-day, August 31st, and it is up on Hasbro Pulse for $574.99. That you would have to. So if it does end up funding, if they get their 8,000 backers, then on August 31st, all of our credit cards will be charged however many Unicrons you purchased. It'll be charged
wasn't there a limit?
There is a limit of 5.
The limit's 5.
Oh, was it 5? Okay, I was thinking it was like 2 per household.
No, it's 5.
I'm surprised there's a limit at all.
Right.
Oh, shout out to everybody who has a spare $30,000 in disposable pocket change.
So, but yeah, so that and the funny thing is I feel like it now that I should just start using a Unicron as a denomination of currency, because Paul, as you were talking about that, someone was saying, oh man, all those pre-orders, that was like half a Unicron. So
how many pre-orders just got canceled because people wanted the Unicron more?
Well, that's what I'm curious about in general, because it's somewhat horrible timing, because MP44 Optimus Prime is actually coming out at the end of August as well, which is it's pretty much the exact same time. So if you are if you did a no upfront payment for MP44, that's going to get charged almost within a week of the Unicron, which is, I mean, for anybody, that's a tough credit card bill to, on top of everything else. Because what would that be total?
It's $450 plus $575.
Yeah, so pretty much $1,000.
A G. What about a G?
Yep. I mean, there are people that ordered through Amazon or whatever avenue, and they saved $20 here or whatever on the MP44. But yeah, you're looking at roughly $1,000 for everything, for just those 2 pieces, I should say, not counting the other pre-orders, which we'll get into in a sec.
Right.
2 items.
Hey, Carrie, how's it going? Carrie joined us.
Oh. What up?
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think that was a big part of like what people were complaining about was not just the price, but the fact that, oh shoot, I have 45 days to figure out a way to pay for this thing.
That's my predicament.
Yep.
I almost kind of wish they would have extended it maybe another month through the end of September. Because 6 weeks, while it is, a month and a half, it's a good stretch of time. A lot of us get paid biweekly and have to worry about the logistics of seeing if there's overtime available, if we're able to work that, if we got other stuff going on that we're dealing with. I mean, just all kinds of things, and that's a rather large investment. So to be able to try to scrounge together that type of money in that shorter time frame, without sacrificing, whatever bills you might have, car payment, whatever. Not a lot of folks are able to do that.
And in addition to that, for the sail barge, the minimum order met was 5,000, and they managed to get 8,000, right? And
Yes.
Think about the community of Star Wars fans versus the community of Transformers fans. Star Wars is huge, orders of magnitude over Transformers, and they were only able to get together 8,000 pre-orders for the sail barge. Now, Hasbro for Unicron has put an 8,000 minimum on a more expensive toy from a smaller fan base.
Yeah.
So, with the 6-week time period, like Jim was saying, people have to get their ducks in a row to get the money together, and also you have to see if there are even that many people who are willing to pull the trigger on it at all. It's gonna be tight, and I hope it happens.
Are we sure there's that many people in the fandom that care that much about G1?
I think there are, but are there that many who are willing to pony up $600 in 6 weeks?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just thinking, because the '86 movie, that was 33 years ago. A good portion of the fans now, if not maybe a larger portion, is probably going to be your Beast Wars or Armada generations, your Michael Bay movies. People that
Armada had a Unicron too.
Are now voting age, have jobs. Yeah. That were in elementary school for the first film. 12 years ago. So, I mean, we're I think becoming a minority as far as the G1 fans. And that would more appreciate the fact that we were able to see it on the big screen. When Unicron first came out.
Well,
I don't disagree.
I think overall, there's probably more people that are fans of G1 and the movie and all that. The question is how big of a fan they are. They may be I think there's a lot of people. I think that Transformers is more ingrained between G1 and the movie, but a lot of the people that I know are, they're more casual. Like that, if they saw an Optimus Prime, they would pick him up or whatever. But they're not. There's a big difference between that and paying that amount of money. Yeah. So I'm really curious.
Folks that might pick up a T-shirt at Walmart or something.
Right. I'm really curious too if Hasbro will end up introducing like a payment plan. And Paul, I don't know, like, did anyone give that feedback that you're aware of to the design team at SDCC to ask to see whether or not they would be open to a payment plan?
I mean, I didn't talk about a payment plan. I totally understand why they're doing things the way they do as someone that knows a lot about timed sales on the internet. Like having it extending the deadline, not going to happen. They've already been working on this for 18 months, and now it's time to be like, all right, if it's going to happen, we need to find out. We can't keep fucking around. They can't be like, hey, let's just extend it another 4 months, because that just delays the project even more, and it's not going to be completed until 2021 anyways. Yeah. So there's just some points where you have to make a hard line in the sand, and it's like, you just hope that it wasn't too hard lined, and we will find out. We will see. And something tells me that there's just no way this thing isn't going to get made.
Right.
You know, what if they have to readjust the terms? They have to like say, well, we were able to squeeze it, make it a little cheaper, or it gets more expensive because there's less. They're going to make less. I don't know, but if you do the math, they're asking us to give them $4.6 million to complete the project, which like it just gives me pause to like, is that really what it takes to make this stuff? Good Lord. So, I mean, it's a complicated project. The toy is super complicated, and you know, these are the terms they could provide us. So yeah, it's tough for a lot of people. It's crazy that the timing is when it is, but also they had to reveal it here at SDCC to get the biggest bang for their buck.
Well, and that's the thing is that you're going to have SDCC for the U.S. market, and even international from that. But then you have Wonderfest coming up in Japan, which is next weekend. And so that's where you're going to reveal it to, you know, the Asian market and all that, and get the coverage for that. So, I mean, you're right that if, assuming they were, you know, always going to partner with, you know, Takara Tomy, you know, this was pretty much the time to do it.
Well, yeah, and crazy thing about that, and I asked if you guys know who Ran is. She's like one of the marketing people for Transformers. I was like, so you guys are releasing this, or Takara Tomy is releasing this as a Wonderfest thing. So when they purchase or pre-purchase this thing, does that count towards our 8,000 deadline or, you know, total we need? And they're like, no, it doesn't. It's separate. I was like, what? Wow, really? So we have to still get 8,000 in North America just so it. And then they can produce whatever they sell, which seems completely crazy to me.
That seems nuts. So what happens if it? Okay, so say you don't get to 8,000, and Tomy has already taken 5,000 pre-orders. Like, what are you going to do then? Are they just going to go with the project, and everyone in North America is like out of luck?
Hasbro fudges the numbers, and it gets funded anyway, and we all get our toy, and we're happy at the end.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. It kind of has to get made, but they also don't want the project to fail. I mean, like it would be catastrophic if the product didn't fail. It's like the stakes are too high for this thing not to happen.
Right.
You know, because Haslab, if it doesn't happen, they're gonna be like, well, we'll cancel Haslab. You know, it doesn't work.
Right. Well, in my mind, I think Hasbro in general has not really focused on the collector overall, in my opinion. Like they've kind of gotten out of they have a little bit of Masterpiece that they've done over the years, but they have not really gone the same way that Takara Tomy has. Like they're really more focused on the general public. They're more focused on kids, all that type of thing. My feelings is that Haslab is them trying to dip their toe and say, is there truly a collector market, a high-end market in the U.S. that is sustainable? You know, because there's Sideshow's done it, you know, other companies has done it. Can a major toy company like Hasbro focus more on collectors than on, you know, kids?
Bringing up Sideshow brings up a good point in that there are a lot of collectors who aren't like Transformers specific. They're pop culture collectors. They only have 2 or 3 pieces from each property. They know this much depth on, you know, 100 different properties, and they're willing to spend that $500 for a crazy statue or a crazy Iron Man with a billion pop-off panels and a bunch of nonsense. And they might be willing to, for a big, nice talking point. My Transformers centerpiece talking point is the Ultimetal Optimus and the Unicron. Done. You know? It might work.
Yeah, I think it'll pull some people out of the woodwork. There was a lot of interest in this toy. Everyone's walking by. Like there was crowds around it constantly, and you know, Unicron is he's kind of an obscure character. You know, he's an A-lister in my book, but like if you grew up with G1, you might have totally forgotten he exists. You know, if you're kind of a casual fan.
Right.
He's not Optimus Prime, Soundwave, Starscream, any of those guys. You know,
I don't
he
know any
hardly
of those
has-
guys you just listed. All I know is Unicron.
That's kind of how I feel this weekend, actually. I mean, I've been waiting for this thing since the day I saw the movie in the theater. This is what I was looking for. So that's why it gave me pause, but I was like backer 3, I think, because a friend of
In the board, you said you were backer 4 or 5. So don't start quibbling numbers
right.
now.
I'm creeping.
Uh-huh.
I was one of them because they don't tell you. But then the friend of mine that sent the link in the morning, he's like, "Holy cow, you were backer 3, 4, or 5," and I'm like, "Well, I'll go with 3." And then last night we were on the Cybertron podcast, and Claire says she was number 2, and we had another person that said they were number 5. So we had like the Unicron crew on that podcast. It was funny. But yeah, I don't know. As far as no one wanted to talk about the uncomfortable stuff. No one wanted to say, well, what if it doesn't happen, guys? Like, what happens then? Like, no one asked the Hasbro team that. No one was that rude.
the thing that I, kind of wish is that their distribution was a little bit, like more international. I mean, because this is a thing that's tough. Like, I really think that they could get 8,000. It's not going to be a problem if they open it up to Europe, if it's open up to Asia and all that. But if they're not counting the 8,000 towards those markets, like, because I know, Peter, you brought up Star Wars, and in my opinion, I think that Star Wars is not the global brand that Transformers is, because Star Wars is not big in Asia, and not the same as what Transformers is. So
my point in bringing up Star Wars, though, is that look at how many people go to the Star Wars, celebration versus how many people go to former BotCon shows or current TFCon or whatever, or PFCon. I mean, I hear attendance on that's decent, but
right.
it's still not Star Wars celebration.
Bursting the doors.
Well, and the thing that I think is interesting for both this Unicron and for Star Wars both is okay, the sail barge was made for 3 3/4 figures, right? Which a lot of the high-end guys now don't collect 3 3/4, right? Like, they're collecting either Black Series or they're collecting the litany of other options that you have for Star Wars that are a larger size. And I feel like it's somewhat the same for Unicron as well. That's what I thought when it first came up is that most of the guys that are still collecting mainline are not the kind of people that are shelling out that kind of money. And then the people that are shelling out that kind of money for statues or even third-party masterpiece and stuff like that they want a really high quality finish, on their product. So is this Unicron going to necessarily fit with their high-end Transformers collection?
I mean, I think so. I think it kind of transcends certain boundaries. It's the War for Cybertron trilogy toy, so it's mainline. It's crazy big and awesome and pretty screen accurate, especially the planet mode. So there's your masterpiece. Yeah. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece toy, but it's it just kind of fits. It checks a lot of boxes, and it's almost a statue too.
Yeah.
And from a marketing perspective, if you were gonna release this thing worldwide, but you wanted to make sure you got a lot of U.S. orders first, just to test that market, why wouldn't you first release it to the U.S. and then 15, 20 days before it's going to go, be like, oh, we found a way to do it internationally. Here we go. Make your orders. Like those, it makes sense from a marketing standpoint. This isn't the end of the campaign. There's 45 days to go. So there's still plenty to learn about the toy, about maybe anything it comes with, and how it's, going to be sold and funded. So, just keep your fingers crossed and stay positive if you can. So,
are we going to see stacks and stacks and stacks of these at some mall in Singapore in 8 months?
Well, not in 8 months, maybe in 18 more months, but
18 months.
They'll show up at all these.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I'd be
if
down.
Unicron goes to Ollie's.
For Titan price, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say it here.
never
If
did
Unicron goes to Ollie's, I will eat one. I will literally eat one on camera, okay? The whole thing with ketchup and mustard and everything. It might take me 3 hours, but I'll do it.
Predaking never did show up at Ollie's, did he?
I didn't see Predaking, no.
Yeah,
I don't
Fort
think
Max.
so. You know, it's interesting, those combiners both. Like Devastator, I don't really showed up on clearance that much. And that really dried up. And that's actually went for a premium price as well, you know, on the secondary market now too. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe there is something about making those masterpiece size combiners that people really like. But
I know I saw a bunch of the Computron and the Gen 2 sets at Ollie's, Burlington Coat Factory, TJ Maxx, Ross. They were all over my area for a couple of months, and then they all went foop. And then they were all over Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace.
right.
And now they're all expensive again.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have never thought at the time that Combiner Wars would have went up in price. That I would have been better off at the time buying a ton of Combiner Wars, keeping them sealed in box, than buying Masterpiece like a few years ago. You know, just obviously it's not worth the same as Masterpiece, but it went up in value rather than just staying in the same value.
Yeah.
But
on that note, when this Unicron toy comes out 2 years after everyone has paid their $600, you know, because you got to pay tax, by the way, if you haven't gone through the process, it's a bitch. But what about in 2021 when it finally starts showing up? Like, what is it actually going to be worth at that point? Because I think it's going to be pretty far north of the money you paid to pre-order it.
Easily.
Just something to think about.
yeah, because that's the sale barge did that as well. That, you know, you got in for $500, and then I think now, I don't know, what is it, going up between 800 and 1,000, something like that on the secondary market.
Rick was
There
seeing
was
him
one
at
on the
point,
floor.
I think, around 12.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Well, the thing I'm curious about this Unicron is if they'll end up doing something similar to where Big Bad Toy Store or some other online retailer will get some in to resell, because I know that they had a limited amount, at least, of that sale barge at Big Bad.
Yeah, I'm positive there. You know, the retailers can swoop in and save the day if we need it.
Right.
Is my guess. But still, like, say you buy 100 Unicrons for your stock, like that's. I don't know. It's huge. These numbers are crazy, and it's just tied up. It's tied up in inventory that you can't sell for years, for 2 years.
Right. I mean, that's the thing that's tough is if they're putting the money up front as well, you're talking about that. Then when they get them in, assuming, like, if for some reason they don't sell them all out immediately, where are you going to put them at? You know, the warehouse space is pretty big, but that can be tough.
Yeah, I mean, they might have special net 30 or net 90 terms on the payment, but Hasbro needs the money. That's why they're doing it up front, you know, to make all the molds and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the molds for this toy will probably fill up a warehouse itself.
Right.
Easily.
One question from the chat.
27 inches, right?
27 inches, yeah.
Right, 27 inches.
Is the hide in bot mode. One question in the chat, they were wondering, are there any remolded parts from, like, any other, like, say, for example, the Predaking, like the hands of Unicron, or is it a completely new mold?
Completely new.
This is completely new. The whole thing
Ground up.
is brand new from the ground up. It's not like Predaking and Devastator where they shared a few, like, cues and mold parts. This is all new. I mean, you might say there's some screws in it that are similar to other screws on other toys. That's probably about it.
Yeah. Well,
They might use the same metal pin in a hinge.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, like how they came up with the 27-inch size in general. You know, why did they decide that versus making it bigger or making it smaller or whatever the case may be? Like in my mind, I'd almost kind of like it to be a little bit bigger because it's already big enough to where it's not going to fit in any cases that I have right now. I'm going to have to do something custom, some type of shelf for it. So why not make it 30 inches or 36 inches?
Because, I mean, you have to think about how that relates to, you know, planet mode, parts count, and things like that. The weight and shipping it, I'm sure they ran it through 100 different formulas and calculations to make sure that it would be affordable to everyone. And it's bigger than Fort Max, so it ticks off that box of it's the biggest one ever. And yeah, it fit all their cost calculations versus, you know, return.
Well, they did talk a little bit about the design process, and they wanted to make sure, the planet was a sphere, like it was actually a sphere and not like Armada Unicron. And then they also wanted the rings not to be, they didn't want to compromise on the rings, so they had to make this giant stand, and then it all had to fold in. And they also wanted to make the arms rip apart like they do in the film. And so to do all those things, they had to tweak things here and there, which would then, if they didn't make the whole sphere larger, it would like kind of make it lumpy. So it just kept kind of getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and this is where they ended on it. And I don't want it to be any bigger than this. It's already enormous. It is so big.
Well,
I think if in the event I'm able to get this Unicron by some miracle, I think I will refer to him as Lumpy. It's just going to be so. They said it was like almost 20 pounds, right?
Yeah, 19 pounds.
Yeah.
Large, heavy, awkward. I'm going to just call him Lumpy.
Sick Scrooged reference there, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point, Peter, too, you know, I know John Warden was kind of talking about the transformation process in a video. He did an interview with Unicron.com, and they were, he was just talking about how difficult it is to get to planet mode without using the stand if it's just you. Like, you really need two people to transform it otherwise, just because, I mean, if you could imagine doing, like, if you're holding 20 pounds and the ring around it, like you have, that ring is a parts forming piece, right? I believe. And
the ring can be removed.
The rings have to come off.
So if you
the ring is the only part that comes off,
so far as we know.
So imagine, I think that they said it's roughly the size of a beach ball, or it's bigger than a basketball, but whatever. And you're trying to hold a 20-pound medicine ball, essentially, you know, and put the ring around and put it on the stand. I'm sure that this was kind of like, okay, if we do it any bigger, like, this is just not going to work at all.
Children are going to be crushed.
So, and Ron in the chat also brought up an interesting point too, is that the ratchet joints in the ankles are probably only going to, because this, according to them, it was freestanding. Like, it does not need the stand in bot mode. And so in order for those ratchet joints to hold, like, there's a weight limit to that.
Mm.
Did you guys hear about the Vince DiCola Transformers concert party?
No.
I saw you dancing with a Starscream cosplayer.
But I don't know nothing about it.
So this was like the craziest thing I've ever been to. It felt like a Transformer fever dream, is how I put it. It's one of those things I would have a dream about it and wake up in the morning and like recount it in my head and be like, oh, what a crazy dream, except this happened. Like, if you told me Vince DiCola was playing the Transformers soundtrack and they have a Unicron prototype sitting there and they reveal the Rainmakers and the Dino cassettes and the Micromasters, and it's at a bar and like hardly anyone's there, because it was like it was not heavily attended because it was like very exclusive. It was just a few Transformer guys were there. And then Greg Berger shows up wearing a Rip shirt. And then we met the guy that is writing the Constructicon comic. It's just insane. And then they broke the Unicron prototype.
They broke it? I didn't hear that.
They didn't say not to talk about it, but they didn't want us to like take pictures of it. Because this is what the reason they had the event is they were going to transform it. And then all the nerds like us were going to have our phones and film them actually transform it in real time.
Uh-huh.
So it was in, which sounded super cool, but weird to be at a bar. Like it was like, this was a rock bar. It had a stage and everything. It was awesome. And so they had the prototype there and we're all taking pictures with it. It's the gray one. It wasn't the one that was at SDCC.
Right.
And they brought the designer in, the Japanese guy that actually did all the work on this toy. And they were going to transform it, but they said, well, first we have to transform it to planet mode because it's easier to transform it in person to robot mode. And somewhere along the way, they put it behind a curtain and they were messing with it. And somewhere along the way, something bad happened and they couldn't. So what they did is they pieced it together. I think they used a lot of glue and they kind of like made planet mode and they think they just called it at that point. They're like, you know what, this is it. We're not doing the transformation thing. We're sorry. Enjoy the concert. And it was just so fun and so niche and so nerdy because you don't usually go to concerts where people are playing soundtracks to movies that have no words and everyone's rocking out.
Or a toy.
Yeah, for a toy. I mean, he started with the Unicron theme. We just heard the Unicron theme live.
Well, and a live transformation. I mean, it goes to show you that how hard it is to live transform something on air, right?
Especially that big. I mean, I think kind of what you're saying. It probably just was so heavy and someone got awkward and it fell out. It fell on the ground.
Right.
Because it was a bold thing to try. And
is the floor okay?
There might have been a dent in the floor. Who knows?
So someone in the chat was asking, were Starscream and Grimlock like asked to leave at this party or something?
No, I saw a video of that. That was like a joke, but
oh, okay.
They showed up for Vince DiCola and were like in the crowd dancing and stuff. It was so crazy. And I saw that guy dress up as Starscream on the street. I was eating lunch and he just happened to be setting up his costume right next to me. And I was like, hey man, you were at the concert. That was awesome. And so they were very tall costumes. Like they're on stilts essentially.
Oh, okay. That's crazy. So wasn't there a Trypticon cosplay or something too?
Oh, I didn't see that. So that's news to me.
Someone posted a behind-the-scenes photo of the. Okay, there was like a photo of a 6 or 7 foot tall guy in a Trypticon. Well, the guy wasn't that tall, but the cosplay was that tall.
Right.
And it said, "Look for me," but I don't know that anyone actually saw the Trypticon guy at the show anywhere.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
Disguise.
He might have been at the Pulse Party because there was a Hasbro Pulse Party, and then this thing was not that. It was like the Transformers fan event, which I think was invite only.
Did you go to the Pulse Party?
I did not, because we went to this instead. The Pulse Party was like more of a free drinks and look at some toys.
Uh-huh.
One of our roommates. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that's a really neat idea that they did, was to do that Pulse Party. Like, I didn't go to SDCC, but I would have definitely went to it had I gone.
I didn't go to that because it was almost like overlapping with the concert. And it was also across town. I don't really know what happened. All I know is they had free drinks. That was the difference. And we had to pay for our drinks at the other thing, which was fine by me.
Yeah.
Oh, Flint Dilley was there too. And Paul Eiding.
Good fun.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat that they were able to get them all together. Although the funny thing I thought is watching the coverage with Flint is that he was saying, "Oh, this Unicron is so great! Like this is amazing! Like, does the head come off?" And John Morton's like, "No, the head doesn't come off. I'm sorry." Like, So I guess I know he was saying that they're going to try and see what they can do if it is a feature that they can put inside of it, but I don't think that they're ready for everyone to say, to want the head to come off of the figure.
All you have to do for the head to come off of Unicron is just take it, hide it behind a curtain, and then drop
it.
Exactly.
True.
Exactly.
You know what else, Flint? I don't know if you must have seen the video. He misquoted Megatron. He said, "I'm Megatron. I'm still alive." Instead of "I still function."
Well, I always think it's interesting.
That was funny.
Hearing some of these, the guys that did the voices or did whatever, and they always, people always ask like, "Oh, what's your favorite line? What's your favorite episode? What's your, yada yada," right? Well, it's like a lot of these voice actors, they've done a zillion cartoons, right? And it was from, 30, 40 years ago. So half the stuff they don't remember. We remember a lot better than what they do, honestly, on a lot of it.
Well, that's because we're obsessing over it and they're getting a paycheck and moving on to the next gig. Yeah.
Yeah, just a job. It just that particular thing made me chuckle.
Right.
But
right.
I'm still alive.
Or I'm still here. I don't know what he said. It was, but it wasn't "I still function." That's for sure.
It was just whatever it was. It was insultingly wrong.
It was. To some people, it might be insulting. I just thought it was cute. So, yeah, like with the head. Again, if you're a marketer, you're not going to give away everything in the first go. There's got to be some tricks to this toy that we don't know about.
True.
That aren't revealed yet.
Comes with a rebate. That's
yeah,
one of the
you don't
bonuses
like this piece, then you get a refund. I'm kind of surprised because of all the toys they've ever made, this is the only one I've ever wanted to have lights and sound on it.
Right.
Having some wells in there would be nice. They'll reveal that at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the ring could light up and you could actually make it do it in sequence, that would. Oh my God, I'd pay another $100 for that.
Right.
if I had to.
And just some of the sounds and all that. If they could put some voice clips from the movie, that would be pretty neat as well.
Yeah, if you could have if there was a hole where the maw is and actually light could come out of that and you could change the color of it or something from red to, because when he talks, this light flies out of his mouth. But I don't want to gripe about it.
So this opens up a new line of questioning, though. How many third-party operations are going to want to jump in on this and add a light pack or a sound pack or articulated, the fingers do this, but do they do this? And do they, can you, I don't know, add more articulation to this already ridiculous piece? And how far would casual fans, if we could do that, Jim, how far would casual fans be willing to go to add another $400 in extra bits to upgrade their already $600 Unicron?
Right.
I definitely see that there is going to be a market for that, and I think that you're going to see something added to it because we already have the companies that do it. So, yeah, the only trouble with that is they could. I don't know about doing voice clips and whatever. They can't really do it legitimately, because that would be
but how much
copyright
third party
issue.
anything is legitimate? There are Welker voice clips in a Canon or something for mod fans, I think it is, to upgrade your Masterpiece Megatron. So any of this stuff is going to be illegitimate. It's not going to be, oh, it's my official Unicron upgrade kit or whatever. It's going to be some third party nonsense.
Yeah, but with that though, there's layers, right? Like, and so like the Frank Welker mod chip ones, like they did not sell those at the regular US online retailers. Like you had to get those through some other means.
Uncle Billy, Shozy, Taobao, whatever. Yeah.
Right. It was all like Asian shops and stuff. So I think the ones that I'm thinking of that usually do those upgrade kits, usually they do it in a way that they can be sold at Big Bad. So, but I'm sure there'll be a couple different options and things like that too. So, but yeah, my question in general is like overall with this Unicron, like, what do you guys think about Haslab in general? Do you think that is a good way to, bring products to market in general? And then what's the next Transformers thing that you want to do?
I think it's actually a really good. What's that? Oh, I think it is a really effective endeavor for them to start doing. My only two things with that though is if they would maybe find some kind of way to extend the window of the deadline, or like was mentioned earlier, maybe some kind of payment plan where like a down payment would be charged on, say, August 31st, and then you have up to 60 days to have the rest of it, or your pre-order is canceled, type of thing. I mean, something to help kind of work with fans. That way, it doesn't necessarily put them in any kind of major financial hardship, or in a situation where they have to choose between that or paying a bill, and as a result, never having the chance to ever own this toy again.
Yeah. I just got the Snake Mountain from Super 7, and that one had a payment plan as an option. You had to pay some interest on it and whatever. If it was in the overall scheme of the price of the piece, it was negligible, but having that option is what set a lot of people on board, and having that for the Unicron, I can see a definite benefit for fans that can't in 6 weeks. I mean, that's a tall order. I know for me, I like the idea of the Haslab formula, and Takara Tomy did it with their mall offering for Grand Maximus, and they offered if we hit so many pre-orders by date X, then you'll all get Grand Maximus, and if we get so many pre-orders, however many the cutoffs are, I don't remember off the top of my head, then they were going to throw in Pretender Shell Diver, who that mold was made, but it never showed up anywhere yet. We still haven't seen it. They didn't make the cutoff for Diver. Grand Maximus still got made, but Diver they're like, well, sorry guys, you missed out. So that kind of like, for me, I ordered him, so I got mine. But for those that didn't order and missed out, and for those who ordered and were hoping for the Diver figure and then didn't get it because not enough people ordered, that's kind of like vote every election sort of thing. Buy these pre-orders.
Now that Diver, that was going to be a brand new mold for the
it was a new mold to finish the Master Force Pretenders set. So you had Metal Hawk and Diver and Lander and Phoenix.
I wasn't aware that was even an option.
Yeah, and they didn't make it, so Diver didn't get made, and so that kind of cemented the fact that you need to pre-order these things if you want them to get made. You can't dither, you can't wait, you can't hope that it'll just get made anyway. You got to jump in both feet.
You got to diver in.
You got to dive right in. Yeah.
Yeah, that Diver was a real bum out when that didn't get made.
Yeah.
The mold will probably end up in China somewhere.
The mold will show up at some point. I'm still waiting for it to pop anywhere. I need that to finish my Master Force Pretenders set, and it's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm into Haslab. The only person that probably isn't into Haslab is Cookie Monster right now. He's probably not loving how that system's working for him. They did say that they released Unicron, they revealed Unicron right after the Cookie Monster by a few days, and they had some people cancel their Cookie Monster backings to do the Unicron or something, which I'm like, whoa.
I'm surprised that there's overlap.
Yeah.
I'm not. There are those pop culture fans. They just want a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
but yeah,
I'm into it.
I would say I would agree, like, in general, that it would be nice if they had a payment plan and had some more, kind of consumer friendly options. I know that they want to obviously have the money up front because they want to make sure people are committed, because, I'm sure that, I'm the same way as anyone, to where, if it, year down the line, you go, all right, I really need the money, I'm going to cancel. So I could see why they did it. But if they did something to where they did a 6-month payment plan, I think that would be a lot easier to stomach. Because I know a lot of people, especially with third party, they've kind of brought up a lot of the combiners that third party did are, $600 figures, but they end up being $100 at a time. And it's kind of spread out, like where every 2 or 3 months, there's one that comes out. So I think that's a lot easier for people to stomach. And Jim, like you said, having, something that kind of coincides a little bit with your, paycheck, because, again, I think that even if you have, the money laying around that you're ready to go ahead and make your purchase, I mean, that's still extra emergency funds or whatever, or savings that you could be earning interest on, or, whatever. Like, there's a lot of different things that you could be doing with that money for the, 2 years or whatever, while you're waiting for this thing to come out. So, but I think overall, I am excited for Haslab. I hope that, it takes off, and it also shows Hasbro that there is a market for high-end collectibles in the US, and that's something that they can do. Because for me, I feel like that every single Titan that they've released, there's been something that has been not quite good enough with it. Like, the ratchets haven't been great, just QC or whatever, but then it's been missing stuff. So, like, for example, my Metroplex that I got, like, I bought another, $100 in stickers and upgrade kits or whatever. Same thing with Fort Max, same thing with my Triptychon. So it's like every single one, I end up being in $250 rather than the original, MSRP. And it's still not exactly what I want. Whereas I feel like that this Unicron, it's like them saying, hey, this is like this thing, we went all out with this thing. And I feel the same way about Jetfire as well, is that instead of them, trying to make a price point and making a figure to make the price point, they make a really cool figure. And then they say, okay, how much is this? Okay, $80, sure. That's what we have to charge, in order to release this. So I would rather them do that way, because I don't want to spend $200 on a figure that I'm not 100% happy with.
I don't disagree. The Titans have all missed something, and almost all of them have shown up on ridiculously slashed retail 6, 8, 10 months after their initial releases. You've got Triptychon's exploding hips. You've got the download, I call it the DLC, the downloadable content that showed up in Siege in the form of Six Gun and Cog and Brunt. These are little figures that were supposed to, not supposed to, but should have been, in my opinion, included with the original Titans that they had, come with in Gen 1, to add ankles and fingers and guns to Metroplex is it shouldn't be taller.
Six Gun was what, 5-6 years after the initial Metroplex figure came
Yeah.
out?
Right. Yeah.
And Metroplex has only went up in value. I still can't find one for a reasonable price.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there are not a lot of issues with this Unicron, that it is as complete and as wonderful as they're selling it to be. Now, I've seen a lot of people griping about backpack kibble and leg kibble and panel kibble. It's a sphere. It's not going to fold away perfectly. It's not going to be, in your mind's eye, the perfect whatever Unicron at $600 or whatever. I think it's
for what it is.
Yeah.
And just looking at it and seeing the love and dedication and effort that went into it.
Mm-hmm.
It has a little bit of the backpack. I can live with that.
Yeah,
You know,
that we are getting it offered at all is wonderful, and it shows that Hasbro has been listening. They do care. They are trying. We just need to back them.
Right. And that's kind of my feelings in general about the Siege line is that they finally said, hey, you know what? Instead of like trying to split the difference between collectors and kids, that we just like, let's just go after collectors, not necessarily high end, but, you know, do something like Legends. And so you see that with Siege, where they're put in a ton of articulation with everything. They put in, you know, good joints. There's paint, you know, on the figures. Sometimes we don't want the battle damage, but like,
But the paint's there. They're not hollow anymore. They look beautiful. They're trying. They've been listening, and it's obvious.
right.
And the character selection is out of this world.
Yeah, this is a love song to us.
oh my god! And
This is
a lot of the ones they announced this weekend, in addition to Unicron. I mean, we're getting what is it? The car power dasher now.
yeah.
His name is
Yeah, they have some kind of name for it.
Aragon, and it makes me wonder if they do the rest of the Power Dashers, it's going to be Gandalf and Bilbo.
And no, I think that name came from a catalog or something from Europe, from a mail away catalog. I'm thinking I could be wrong, but it's a reference to something from a million billion years ago.
That's way less fun, Peter. Why'd you have to kill it? Dang.
I'm here to kill things and make people. Yes.
You really are Smeagol, aren't you?
But yeah, and that was kind of the thing that went along with this as well, is that not only did we get, you know, this Unicron funding, so if you're in the Siege line, that they also dropped, I don't know how many exclusives they dropped. Pretty much there was a list ahead of time that was rumored, and it seems like that almost all of that list ended up coming true. So we ended up getting a Target exclusive Rainmaker pack. We got a Target exclusive 10-pack of Micromasters. We got a Walgreens Ratchet that who knows when that's going to show up.
Yep.
We got...
There's Entertainment Earth exclusive Lancer and Galactic Man Shockwave.
Which was available at the show.
Was it?
Yeah.
The Lancer.
Yep.
Yep. Lancer and Shockwave, the Galactic Man Shockwave, were both available at the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and if you bought them, you got an exclusive, an enamel pin of the characters, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
There's some Amazon exclusives. The 3-pack that has the Impactor Mirage and that Power Dasher, which is that's a cog repaint, right? Remold repaint.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think it's just a repaint. Yeah. Oh, that has new head. Okay, yeah. It's the cog mold.
Yeah.
And the Mirage is the translucent Mirage, and the Impactor has the alternate head. So there are going to be 2 Impactors coming out in the next however many months. One's going to have his Gen 1 Marvel UK comic book head, and one's going to have his Last Stand of the Wreckers Roche head with the Spartan-style helmet. So you can have your IDW head, or you can have your old school Marvel head. You can swap them around if you want to be a Decepticon. There's the mold and the deco are basically the same, but one has a Decepticon insignia, one has an Autobot insignia, so mix and match, and you get a perfect Impactor. And it's I never thought we'd get there.
Yeah. And then you got Decepticon Phantom Strike Squadron. That's the one that has Skywarp, right? Okay. And then the counterpart to that is Autobot Alpha Strike Counterforce, which I'm excited about because Slam Dance, yay, childhood favorite there. As well as G2 Sideswipe. I thought that was a little
right, but they're calling him G2 Clone Sideswipe, which is a reference to the IDW continuity where that Sideswipe. Spoilers, it's been a year and the continuity's canceled. So Sideswipe dies, and there's another guy that looks like Sideswipe that RC names Sideswipe, and he's black. But it's using the Gen 2 Sideswipe deco, so there's a whole bunch of nods and happy wiggles in there, and just buy the toy and love it.
Then also Greenlight is also an Amazon exclusive in with that list too. See, as far as exclusives, I think that might have been it.
Skywarp. Did you add a Skywarp in there too?
Yeah, that was the Phantom Strike pack.
Yeah. And
And then
then
we've
yeah,
got
and that's
the-
not
the
even
assembly
counting
color
the.
reflector.
I don't know if these are exclusive in any way or if these are just mass release. The Refractor Reconnaissance Team, which is the G1 toy accurate deco for reflector, and Kremzik comes with it. Kremzik is a blast accessory. That is awesome.
I can't remember Refractor. Who was that? Entertainment Earth as well. I think it was.
I'm looking up this list here, and I'm not. It's on T-Formers, and I'm not seeing it listed as any kind of exclusive. That's why I wasn't sure.
It showed up on Pulse.
If they announced
It was on Pulse. I think it was on Pulse, and all of the Entertainment Earth
Pulse exclusive
ones showed up on Pulse as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on
That's
Entertainment Earth and Pulse, and it'll be on Big Bad at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kremzik is a blast accessory, so that's going to be a beautiful thing to see Kremzik coming out of Omega Supreme's cannon.
I do want to mention that Christian Russell called this set exactly like, I don't know how many months ago. He said there will be a toy accurate reflector that comes with Kremzik in a pack. Like, he literally said that. And so I don't know if he somehow willed that into existence or if it just was a wild coincidence that he is just amazing at predicting what Hasbro is going to do. But he did call
Christian is awesome and he needs to will more things into existence because he's knocking it out of the park.
Right?
Did he called the Kremzik?
Yeah, no, he did because at Toy Fair they had a Kremzik like hidden somewhere on the diorama.
Yeah.
And so that's where he was calling it from.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
They also announced part of Wave 5. We're getting Deluxe Crosshairs, Deluxe Spinister, and then Voyager Ape Face and Leader class Astro Train.
Right. Those were announced a few weeks ago, but they finally showed up.
Right.
Yeah,
and
officially.
Am I correct? Did they in fact say that the heads or the head for Ape Face is backward compatible with the Titan Master?
It is my understanding that the question was asked and answered, and that it is a Titan Master sized head doodad guy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now it has me wondering if they're doing that with Astro Train or if that was just a one-off for Ape Face.
I hope they are not making Astro Train a headmaster again.
Yeah.
I don't think they are.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think so. But I'm kind of wondering.
Ape Face's gorilla head is not a Titan Master, but the Titan Master attaches to the back of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Similar to like they did with like Trypticon and the Titan Master. I got you.
Yes.
And also there were the SDCC exclusives, the Ghostbusters MP Prime, and then the Botbox Con Crew.
Yeah, the Con Crew.
Oh, Bot. I see
Bot.
that must have been a typo. I was like, Botbox? Okay.
Yeah, and then they also had the Transformers trading card game also had some exclusives as well. There was a Soundwave versus Blaster pack. And then they also had an Omnibots pack that they sold.
Yeah.
So, and
I wonder if we'll get those in Siege.
I don't know.
I would do almost anything to get more Omnibots. If we're getting Power Dasher nods, then hopefully the Omnibots aren't too long to follow, because I would love to get a new downshift.
Yeah. Man, I forgot about these guys.
Runabout and Runamuck also showed up on the card game as well, and I'm hoping that. Oh, I guess Runamuck was announced at as the fan vote winner or whatever at the panel. So I'm assuming we're going to get a Runabout as well.
Yeah,
I would almost
no doubt. And then we'll get a 50-pack of those Devastation clone copies that in crazy fun pastel colors. That might be a way to get some throttle bots in, because they share the same basic body type. I can see getting a Chase and a Freeway out of that. There are a lot of doors opening up with having Runamuck as the fan vote winner. I'm being facetious about the 50-pack, obviously, but I can see them beating as much as they've beaten the Tetrajet mold to death. Happily so. I'm super pleased that they are. I want to see them beat the snot out of this Runamuck mold.
Well, if they do the Runabout Runamuck, mold whatever, in ad nauseum, just different colors, different releases. What comes to my mind, think back to Transformers Devastation and the Decepticon drones.
That's what I just said. The 50-pack of multicolored Devastation drones. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I missed the Devastation part. I'm sorry.
I was sitting here envisioning a 50-pack. I wanted to know what that would look like.
I
It would
think
be
it's funny
Unicron
because
size.
there's like a handful of people like Peter and Rick that are like, bring on the 50-pack, buddy. Like the sweeps and all that type of thing.
Oh, the things I would do for a multi-pack of sweeps.
But sooner or
On the
later,
order of
we'll run
dozens?
out of colors.
Hmm?
I mean, could we expect like different designs, like maybe a Argyle or plaid run amok?
I would be down for that.
Yeah, I know. When people complain about all the repaints or whatever, I'm like, bring it on, baby. I'm fine with all that because honestly, in my mind, like if we're doing them as exclusives or they're the selects through Hasbro or whatever, I mean, like whatever. Like it's not your mainline stuff. It's not clogging the shelves up. Like you don't have to buy it. Like it's let Peter and I have our fun and get all of these repaints, like it. So I don't know. I really enjoy the way that Hasbro is doing it now with the repaints, that they are doing those as exclusives. I think it's the smart way of doing it. The smart way of reusing the molds for stuff, and we can still get these oddball characters that we wouldn't get otherwise. Like
It doesn't. I mean, as a parent, like it doesn't exhaust the parents. You go to the store, oh, my kid wants this, my kid wants that, but it's the same toy over and over again. The parents don't have. I just bought you this guy in blue. Why am I buying you this guy in red or purple or green or whatever? So yeah, having them as exclusives is a definite plus for parents who might not, have want to spend that money on all these same things. So yeah, giant robots.
Is the Rung coming out as a in that 10-pack, or is he coming out on his own?
I don't think it's been said.
He's not a Micromaster. He's a Battle Master.
He's a Battle Master. He's one of the weapon guys.
I think he'd be myself.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I would have loved to have had a larger Rung, but I'll take what I can get. I think it was neat the way they did it.
You get a giant Rung, or a giant Unicron, and a tiny ass Rung at the same time. It's a dichotomy.
I'm okay with that. At some point, some third-party outfit's going to tackle a Rung anyway. It's just a matter of time. Yeah. Like in the proper scale and turns into what he turns into. Yeah.
Speaking of the 50-pack and the Redecos and all that's the conversation you just had, we totally biffed the 35th anniversary Walmart exclusives.
Oh yeah,
which are like those first-time cell-shaded toys. I'm not sure how those are going to go. I'm interested to see them.
Cell-shaded Megatrons at the Walmart.
So they did. It was cell-shaded Megatron, cell-shaded Optimus, and then Blue Streak.
Right.
Sound Blaster.
Cell-shaded?
Oh, and Sound Blaster too. Yeah. Sorry, 4 of them.
I don't know that Blue Streak and Sound Blaster are cell-shaded. I think it's just
they're not, but they're exclusive. They're in that same exclusive.
To Walmart. Yeah.
I got you.
So, yeah, the only thing
Which means we'll never see them because Walmart never restocks anything.
You can order online.
And have it just destroyed. They'll just put it in a padded envelope and then stomp it before they fling it out the door at the mailman.
That's why you got to buy multiples.
They'll throw the wrong version in the box.
Yeah, that's why I'm happy I'm not a mint in box collector, so I don't have to worry about if my box gets destroyed. But
I'll tell you what, when you buy more than one, you rarely get the stuff mangled like that because they properly package it. Because it fits in a bigger box.
So you just have to buy like 20 and you'll be good?
Well,
no, I'm just kidding.
Just get Megatron and Optimus at the same time.
Right.
And they'll ship together, and then it's in a box for 2. Whatever.
I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't actually show the actual figures off for Megatron and Optimus. Like, that's the only thing that we haven't actually seen in hand yet. And I don't know if it's just not done
it's
or
all
what.
digital mock-ups.
Right. Yeah. So, hopefully they'll look good. I don't know. Like I I'm excited to get them just because those are two of the figures from Siege that I would have liked to have a little bit of a different deco. That I didn't like how the battle damage showed, ended up on them. But so Paul, one thing I'm curious about in general is so Siege. They were only planning on it being like 4 waves originally. So they've now added a 5th wave, it sounds like, which is going to hit around the Christmas time or first of the year. So what is the plan after that? Like, did they say anything at SDCC about that? Like, are they going on to the next thing? Or are they potentially going to add another wave to Siege?
I mean, I didn't ask them anything about that, but they did talk about the next chapter. They just like mentioned that it's coming. Didn't tell us what it was or who's in it. But I assume Siege is probably coming to an end at the end of the year. Maybe we'll find out at Toy Fair or New York, not Toy Fair, New York Comic-Con what the next section of story is.
I think it'd be the safe bet.
They did hint, they usually don't do this, but they did hint that Snapdragon is coming at the panel. They mentioned, Ape Face's partner.
Can't very well do one and not the other.
Well, one thing I think is they've mentioned before that they do like to do teams, right? So if they do one, they're going to do the other. But then the question with that is with the MicroMaster patrols that they've done, they've only released like 2 of each team. Does that mean the other 2 are eventually coming down the line, like 10 years from now? Or
I think we've touched on that before, though, how like certain play patterns like the MicroMasters or the Headmasters or the Combiners and stuff do kind of sprinkle in and show back up a line or 2 later. So I wouldn't close the book at all on the MicroMasters yet, especially considering the 10-pack we just got hits a bunch of the Gen 1 Redeco guys, and it opens the book on MicroMaster Combiners. So they know that there's a market for these characters. They know that there's a market for these toys, and they're not going to just we're done with that. We'll see more.
I did notice that because in that 10-pack the police car was Road Police, who was from the 6 Turbo team. So yeah, I did notice
the Battle Patrol replays are the Japanese, the Zone Battle Patrol Deco. They're Hasbro is watching and paying attention, and they're singing us a song, and it's beautiful.
I'm gonna get it for Airwave. They don't call him Airwave. I forget what the name was, but it's Airwave. Mine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know specifically like how many waves there's gonna be or when the series is gonna end, but I actually was shocked like how many toys are in the Siege line at this point. I mean, those cel-shaded toys are like 66 and 65 in the numbering scheme. That just seems like a ton of toys.
I thought it was really interesting that they didn't really show off much in the way of studio series. It was all Siege, and
That's
so
true.
I'm curious, like, what the sales are going, between the two, because, I would conclude that if they're adding more waves and they're adding like a gazillion exclusives to Siege, and then the other line, you're not seeing a ton of extra stuff, that Siege is selling better. But I mean, that's just me speculating.
Well, Lucas, great minds think alike. And when I had a chance to talk to them, when I had a chance to interview the guys, I said that you're showing a lot of great stuff, but I have to ask about the stuff you're not showing. There's no new studio series to be seen here, and we know Devastator is coming. So what's going on there? And they reassured us, the line's fine. We're not stopping the line. Nothing is going wrong. It's just with Unicron and Omega. Okay, this is the order of overshadowing that was happening there. It's Unicron overshadowing the fact that they had Omega Supreme, overshadowing the fact that we had Jetfire, overshadowing the entire Cyberverse line, overshadowing the 3A Nemesis Prime statue that was down on the floor. There was too much. Too much crazy stuff. That was not broken, though.
Oh, yeah.
And
it was on the floor. I just assumed.
They just didn't want to. It was just too much. It would have gotten overshadowed, so I think they're going to wait to do those reveals at a later point.
Yeah.
And then we talked about Devastator for a while. They said how it's just enormous. It's bigger than a Titan. You know, it's just like a crazy design, and they had to design the whole thing at once. All 8 toys had to be designed at the same time so they could get it right, which is good. And we've seen the gray mock-up. I just don't know why it hasn't been in the United States. It's only been in like Europe, but that's probably the next big thing they're going to reveal at the next event, because the Unicron Kickstarter will either happen or not. So they're moving on to the next thing. So it's just a marketing and timing thing.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if that Devastator is going to end up being bigger than Unicron when fully assembled. Because you said it's bigger than a Titan.
I mean, I think they said it might be comparable. It's like in the same vein of Unicron. It's just so unique and big, and the silhouette is crazy. So it's going to be large.
I'm going to have to get a bigger house now. This goes beyond just getting
a
more
second
shopping.
one.
Yeah. I'll have to talk to my wife. I'm sorry, honey. We're going to have to put our house up for sale.
Oh, no, she's got to move out. Yeah, she's got to move out. She can live in the shed out back.
She gone.
Yeah, she should.
But yeah, Paul, I'm curious if that means that New York Comic Con is going to be more studio series, and then based on the timing for that we won't actually see the next reveal, big reveal until Toy Fair, and then maybe they say, hey, this is all coming out Toy Fair or whatever, and then March or whatever, it releases like right after Toy Fair, to where it's something that's like kind of all timed at once.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, this is a crackpot theory, but like, there's been no talk of the movie franchise in as far as like what's next for it. Since a few months ago, when Don Murphy was blabbing his mouth and we're all fighting over if Bumblebee was a reboot or not.
Yeah.
And then it's been like dead silent, and no one is noticing because no one cares. So the only thing really going on with the movie is studio series, and maybe I don't know if they would bother with this, but like maybe they're trying to time any sort of reveal of Devastator around a announcement of some sort of what's coming next.
That could be. Well, I apologize. I know we've kind of like went down a little bit of a rabbit hole and not necessarily been on topic. And I know we've gone for a while too. So, before we wrap, is there any, final thoughts that you guys, want to have? I just want to say, I haven't mentioned, I am also backing Unicron as well. So I think I was backer number 950 or something like that, somewhere around that, because I waited for a day to think it over before I actually got in. So.
Well, you're in the 3-digit club. That's cool.
There you go.
I just had a great time at San Diego. I'd never been here. I think the Unicron is amazing, and I can't wait to get it. And I hope it gets funded. I'm staying real positive about it. And if it doesn't get funded, I just don't know, like, what happens then. Like, what pieces need to be picked up, and I don't know. Just don't. And that's what we were not asking them about. Like, I felt like that was kind of a rude question to be like, so what happens if this doesn't get funded? Like, they're not going to tell you an answer anyways. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, Unicron is extremely impressive. I almost want to say the kind of the penultimate Transformer, like we're never going to do better than this type of thing. But we're potentially finally making it. It's blowing my mind. I personally, I can't wait until the eventual Energon and Minicon repaints. Those are going to be awesome.
Yeah, those will probably be coming. Peter, do you have any final thoughts?
I hope not.
I hope it gets funded. I'm not looking forward to buying the Takara Tomy Mall version so that I get that Japanese box. ARG. And the repaints notwithstanding, I hope it gets funded. I hope that the enthusiasm that we saw over the past few days carries forward, and people are able to, just knock it out of the park, because Hasbro looks like they're really listening to us. Finally, it took a long time, and I'm super grateful that this opportunity is here.
Yeah, and I'll say, overall, I think it's going to get funded because I feel like this has a lot of buzz. There's a lot of, and not just in the Transformers fandom, like a lot of the main sites have picked it up as well. That it looked like at San Diego Comic-Con that was kind of like the big piece that a lot of sites, kind of focused on and whatever. Like, look at this crazy thing or whatever. So I do think that there are a lot of general collectors that'll add to the hype as well, and then I think if need be, I think Hasbro will end up putting the Takara pre-orders in with their own and count those towards it. So I think that if it does seem like 30 days in that it's not going to happen, or if things slow down, that I think that they probably will do what they can, because they've already put a lot of time and investment into this, and they want to fund it. But if it doesn't get funded, I do think it will be the most Transformers thing ever to have a full Unicron prototype that still does not get made. So
history repeats.
That is kind of par for the course.
Right, exactly. So, and then also just one note, again, support us on Patreon as well. It helps pay for our server bills and all that type of thing. So if you like what we do, it could be as small as $1, and then we also do after hours episodes. We'll try and do a couple a month to put up for that as well. And usually Drawn can do those as well. And then next week we are doing a live TFYLP from TF Expo. So that is going to be Saturday night at 7 o'clock Eastern. So we'll be doing that live from the show floor to kind of give you a synopsis of TF Expo and all that type of thing. So it'll be Drawn, Anna, and myself, and we'll see who else is on. So anyway, so I guess that's it, and hopefully this Unicron can get funded. So we will see. So
we're at 20%. 20% in the time it's been up, so that's pretty promising.
But Hasbro's bargaining posture is highly dubious.
All right, guys.
I don't understand.
On that note, we'll see you guys next week. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Doodles.